Hello and welcome along to the Rangers Rabble Podcast. We are live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Scott, sorry mate, was that okay for you, that intro?
What was it? It's like a different intro each time.
I didn't change anything. We are live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, so if you're on any of the platforms, please feel free to share, follow, like. Also tonight, we really want you to get your comments in because we have a very threadbare agenda, and I know that Cammy hates talking international football. Get all across to our website at rangersrabble.co.uk where you can see all the latest podcasts and blogs, etc., etc. And at the start of next season, we shall have a dedicated youth development page as well. So, Scotty, my friend, how are you?
I'm all right. Can I just say how magnificent John's beard is?
Yeah, that's a magnificent beard.
Perfectly manicured. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Just wanted to say hello. Good to kick things off. I've missed everyone. Get the comments in. Let me know that you're there.
Cammy, what do you think of John's beard?
He looks like somebody I've seen. Some famous guy.
It does a fantastic job to hide the chins. Honestly, it's a perfect lockdown essential.
And obviously, John, you're back. So I'm just saying Scotty's cut off there. That means the wife's home. How are you?
I am all right, mate. Just, enough football being on to keep me busy during the day, and just had to fill the hour with even more football chat.
Well, we're going to try. Fog Dog straight in there with haircut alert. Can I just say, for people who watch this normally, I went to the barber. He made an absolute pig's ear in my hair, so I've had to put wax stuff in it, and I've not done that since I was 15. But look, let's get on with the football chat because that's what people are here.
To be fair, it's the best haircut you've had since I've been on this podcast.
to be fair, that really isn't saying too much, is it? Right, okay, let's start with a subject that I hope doesn't annoy too many people. Scotty, Rangers have asked, and we've kind of touched on this, Rangers have asked a lot of the fans over the last sort of 3 or 4 years. We've now seen this stadium tour, get your picture taken with the trophy and stuff. Are Rangers now just asking fans for too much money?
Listen, if there's a demand for it and people willing to pay for it, then no. I think there comes a point where there's a crossover point, even though they're doing that and people are still willing to pay. They've actually got to look at the bigger picture and say, well, hold on. Particularly when they acknowledge My Jersey members and season ticket holders and say, wonderful, for your loyalty, you get a discount. And it's like 10 quid. Okay, well, 10 quid's neither here nor there when it comes to over like 20 quid because it is what it is. But then 35 quid for someone that can't obviously afford either a My Jersey membership, otherwise they would put that money towards a My Jersey membership or a season ticket. I think it is asking a bit much. And for the season that we've had, to be able to share something like this with everyone is what I would expect from my football club, because Rangers are very, very good at, particularly now with the new marketing team, at pushing the narrative about how we're a club built on traditions and how we're a huge institution throughout Glasgow, throughout Scotland, throughout the world. And what I've loved recently about my football club is the fact that I've never felt more in tune with that. But then something like this is a stark reminder that it's still a business and it's still trying to make money. But I think perhaps with a bit of reflection, they might take a step back. It's out there now, it's done. They're not going to backtrack and change it, but hopefully they'll do something else.
Well, brilliant comment for Fog Dog. It should be £5.55 for the trophy photo. John, what's your thoughts on this? Look, I think you were on the last time we discussed this. And I believe, I don't know if it was you that said it, that, look, if fans can afford to pay it, they will pay it. But look, there will be fans out there who can't afford to pay it, who will pay it. So is there maybe should Rangers be offering a gesture of, look, it's maybe season ticket holders, My Jersey members, you've been so loyal, you've helped us through the hard times, here's something back?
Aye, this was the one for me that stood out as being glaringly misled, because I was talking to the same mate I was talking to last time about it, who was like, where is this element of you thinking you deserve to get something for free? And I'm like, mate, I gave them 720 quid for my season ticket last year. I never took the 100 quid refund from the previous season. I've just committed to my 720 quid season ticket again. What part of you thinks me getting a 35 quid photo is free? That this should have been the one thing that was simple enough to do for season ticket holders. And if other folk, the thousands of fans that we don't have season tickets with, want to come in and pay for it, let them come in and pay for it. There should have been one thing. And my mate's pretty good with Photoshop, so I'm pretty sure I can take any photo Scotty Cammy gets with it and stick my head on his body and I'll be fine.
It's already been done. Somebody commented on it, and I replied and said, "Oh, I'm so glad I done it a couple of weeks ago. It only cost me £12." And he sent a picture of his face on my body. So it's already happening.
Well, look, I mean, we're saying there, should there be, discounts or free stuff given to my Jers and season ticket holders, Cammy? But should there also maybe be a wee incentive there for fans who, I mean, myself, I don't have a season ticket simply because I wasn't in a position to get one. And then when I was in a position to get one, I'm now so far down the waiting list that I'll probably be retired by the time I'm able to get a season ticket. So should there be something offered out there to all fans?
It's a tricky one. The guys have pretty much covered my sort of thoughts on it. Rangers have obviously, it's not just Rangers that are doing this. Rangers have had to go across various venues. They've obviously got a partner that's organising the events that has to get their cut with regard to the souvenir picture, all that sort of stuff. I've always said I think it would be nice to get something back. I'm not looking for anything for free because, as John says, my Jers season tickets, everything else I've paid for it. I just think it would be nice to get a gesture. I think to my Jers, to season ticket holders, certainly in the first instance, I don't know how you do it to the wider support, but I think you could have a cover charge of a tenner or something like that. I think £35 for non-my Jers, I think, is way too much.
Listen, like, I completely get that, but when the actual intrinsic cost to Rangers to let someone into the stadium or some area of Ibrox to have a photo taken with a trophy, the intrinsic cost of that, when it's so low, to charge, okay, yeah, maybe you get a bit of a tour with it as well, to charge 35 quid is probably a bit much. A good opportunity would be, right, okay, we'll open up a booking window. Whether everyone takes it up or not is a completely different argument. Come in, have your photo, you got a 5-minute slot, there you go, job done. And the actual cost of that to Rangers is what would it be? A couple of man hours. And that's I can't acknowledge what the hell's happened to.
See, to be honest with you, Scotty, that's what I thought. I thought across the summer, I thought the store at Ibrox would have been utilised when potentially they're maybe doing strip launches and they're taking more cash off you. That there's a bit in the corner that once they've taken the £75 off you for the full strip, you can go across and get your picture taken with the trophy.
Like Santa's Grotto. Yeah.
Something like that, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, they've got the £75 off you for the strip, but circumstances have obviously they're doing this across the country.
You're right though, is your house falling down?
No, sorry, I had a puppy emergency. Sorry, Cammy.
That's fine, but listen, I get the club have got to make money, but I just think it'd be good to get something back. Not something for free, but something back.
Listen,
can I just quickly go to the comments, Scotty? Because there's some comments that we will lose if I don't go to them now, and then you can jump back in with your expertise of opinion. John, Rangers, really fortunate surname that. I think the season book holder should get a free 55, a free something. So he goes a long way, pretty much what you guys were saying. We've got CGM, avid watcher, evening CGM, how you doing? My favourite comment, Aldo McNaught, smart haircut, Martin. I like it. And finally, Fog Dog, no managers points earned either for a trophy photo. That's shocking.
Oh,
sorry, Scott.
Waste of time, isn't it? I can't remember. Yeah, you know, we all live in a capitalist society, right? I live in London. Everything costs a fortune, but also in return, in London, you do get some perks and you do get a lot of free stuff. Just happen to be in the right place. You don't have to make money out of everything you do.
Yep.
That is the point.
Yeah,
and I get it. We want Rangers to make money because there seems to be a promise which is upheld that we invest into Rangers. Rangers will invest it onto the park, and that equals success. And that's what we want for our football club, for our football team. And I get it. But it doesn't have to be relentless.
Do you know what, but Scotty, and I'm just going to put this point to you, and CGM's put a comment in, but first of all, evening to Curry Muncher. CGM's put, we are a bit of too many jokes. We are a business at the end of the day. We need to generate income by any means. Player sales not overly popular either. So, John, mate, I'll take this to you. I seen a comment in the group chat earlier. I think it was William Urban who said that James Bisgrove and obviously the Rangers board and that are just stepping up Rangers now to make more money and become a better business. Should we as supporters maybe look at that and go, look where we've been through bad management, and should we not be happy that the club are looking to make money any way they can? If I can play a bit of devil's advocate.
I don't feel like it's yet good management, though, because we've had directors basically bail us out by pumping money into it. You've had the fans who have literally been bleeding money into the club to keep it going, to get it through. We've not been well run. Well run to me would have been back, and I mean, you can't change this, but well run would have been back in Division 3, starting with a youth team and building up and selling assets instead of letting Lewis McLeod go for 800 grand, having Barry Mackay shipped out on loan for so long. We should have been building it up for them to the point where we arrived in the Premier League with youngsters that had now hit 21, 22, had played 200 games for the club, and they were then saleable assets by the time we hit Europe. We're now reaching that point with Patterson, King, Dixon, all starting to go through. Kennedy, I know we've lost Coombs. Those are boys who we maybe will see hit the ground running. And even at that, although Kent was a lot of money out, Kent's going to bring back 2-3 times that money we paid for him. Morelos is going to hit 15-20 times what we paid for him. My point of a well-run business will be when we do see Morelos out the door for 20 million. We do see Kent out the door for 20-25. We do see Kamara for 10-15. And we start seeing these players getting turned over and new players coming in to replace them, because that is the final jigsaw for this business. The business is not reliant. The business isn't working if it's reliant on us paying 35 quid for a photo, buying 55 memorabilia. It's nowhere run.
Exactly.
We're having to do it. That's not a business. That's us propping it up. And I mean, that season ticket was, I kept the season ticket on the same as probably most people during unemployment, because I was like, I'm not wanting to lose my seat I've had for X amount of years. And this year I've been fortunate enough to keep it going, but still the payments of like 180 a month for during the summer, when you're also trying to take money off of us, you know there's going to be kits coming, you know there's going to be European qualifiers getting announced where you're going to have to pay for, you're going to have to sign up for the away tickets if you want to go to games. It's like, there's so much already that maybe we could have avoided one announcement for 1 week where you weren't asking us to pay for something new. I'm
really, really sorry that I asked you that question, because that's the first time I've been scolded by somebody on the panel. Just very, very quickly.
Really?
But you don't mean it. You love me. Just a very, very quick question, John, so that I can cut this up and get 120 million views. Are you saying that Rangers are not a well-run club and that the current board haven't done a good job?
The current board have done a good job, and that's it now at the point. But I still think there are elements that should be taken away for the fans and should be covered by now, selling on assets, replacing them with youngsters or potential assets that we already have there. I think we're ready to do that.
Cammy, sorry, Scotty, do you agree?
Who are you talking to now?
I said Scotty.
Yeah, you just got to listen to what John said. He's like very, very clear. Final piece of the jigsaw, player sales. Up until that point, he's absolutely spot on. I mean, how many guys do you need to get through the turnstile at 35 quid a pop to hold a trophy? I mean, and that should be like the cost for that should be covering costs and a little bit more. That should be the point that we need to get to be a well-run football club business. That, and then make a little bit of money, because for what I can see, it will cost no more than £2. Not even that, probably, to break even. To you taking into account infrastructure costs.
And I know what Scotty's saying.
To get people into Harder Trophy.
Just cut out his stream there, I think.
I know everyone's almost like sick to the teeth of this example of what Germany do with their season tickets. We could charge £400, but we've kept it at £300 because it's only worth an extra few million for all the season books. And people saying, well, Rangers can't afford to let that income go. But we're at a point where I think there's about 6 or 7 players in the squad that could be sold for 15 to 25 million. So we actually can afford to. I know we froze our prices this year, but I think that would, if they'd raised the prices this year, I think people would have went off done that.
Well, actually, look, we've had a couple of comments, Cammy. I'll take them to you because I'm fair and balanced, like Fox News. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Simple. Stop moaning that our clubs are trying to make extra revenue. And CGM, all clubs do all gimmicks they can to get money. It's ultimately a choice. Don't like it, don't buy it. So look, there's going to be fans on both sides of this, Cammy. Some are going to say, look, no, the club are asking for too much now. I feel some fans will feel pressured into buying it. They shouldn't, but they will. And there'll be some fans on the other side that go, no, if our club wants to make as much money as it can, let them do it.
Listen, I know the club have to make money, but I think what John says with regard to player sales, I think that is the testing ground that the next 12 to 18 months with regard to what Ross Wilson has done. The incomings have been great. The proof in the pudding is getting the money for these 6 or 7 players that are worth 10 million and above. But I think it's easy. A couple of people have said that if you don't like it, don't buy it. I get that. It's freedom of choice. It's like buying the shares. It's buying the Edmiston House experience, all that sort of stuff. It comes down to, if you've got, I said that the last time, if you've got the disposable income that allows you to do that, fill your boots, buy 100 grand's worth of shares if you've got that sort of cash. But I don't think it's as simple as just saying, if you don't like it, don't buy it. It doesn't mean that you can't question the way that the club are going about it. You know, that's
very, very, very true. Very true. Question, Scotty, in from CGM. It's all well and good saying replace players with youngsters, but what youngsters are going to replace Kent, Morelos, or Kamara?
I think you listen to anyone, John Bennett, Ross Wilson, Stephen Gerrard, very clear what the business model is. We do need to sell these players. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have, ideally, in a perfect scenario, we'll have the conveyor belt from the youth academy of having these players step in, but they need to be bloodied gradually. So you look on the market, you sell Kent for 15, 20 million. Either you find a Bosman or you spend a bit of that cash towards his replacement. And that's the business model. That's very, very clear in what we're trying to do. Sadly, you won't get a Ryan Kent that you're selling. You're more likely to then replace him with the Ryan Kent that we bought 2 or 3 years ago and develop them from there. And that's the way it's going to work. So hopefully, fingers crossed, what happens is we get a bit lucky and the players develop quicker. And then you will almost end up with an Ajax scenario where it all comes together at the same time. And they end up in the semi-final of the Champions League because that's the model that they have. But then on the flip side, you get Ajax and you actually look at Ajax and sometimes they're crap for a couple of years because they're waiting for that to come through. And that is our business model. Fortunately for us, we're in a really, I'm just going to say piss poor league. The standard is absolutely woeful. So we're always going to be in with a shout. And it's always going to be there or thereabouts whether we can win the league. That's the fortunate position that we're in. Teams like Ajax don't necessarily have that cushion because they'll always have a Feyenoord or a PSV or an occasional Alkmaar or someone else coming through the ranks that will always challenge them. But it's either us or them, that are actually going to be fighting out for the title. And with the additional bonus of Champions League money, it could accelerate our progress. But that's where we are. It's really, really clear in the business model. But it is what we're going to have to do. And with contract situations that they are, it's going to happen sooner, sadly, rather than later.
Well, see, actually, John, talking about like, bringing through youth, selling Morelos, Kent, Kamara. Like Scotty says, we're not going to be able to go out and buy another Kent. It's going to be the Kent that first came in, who was extremely inconsistent, didn't set up a lot of goals, score a lot of goals. And I get what you're saying, it's a 2-team league, but when they done it, we were in the 3rd division. They could bring through as many youngsters as they want. Does Steven Gerrard have that luxury?
He does now, because he won the title. The main thing for us, I mean, obviously, this is a league and we're a fan base that you expect to win everything every single time you play a season. It's that simple. That is the expectation. But I don't think, like, the first time we ever spoke was around the fact that I had watched Annoucned all year and watched Fashion Sakala. He is probably second season Kent that we had to work with, and you had all those attributes that could make him go on. So this idea that Ryan Kent's the only person we're ever going to have that's at that level just isn't true. You're going to get rid of a Ryan Kent and you're going to hope Fashion Sakala hits the ground running and has the same kind of development Kent has. Because let's not forget, Kent wasn't flying at the start of this season. Him and Morelos finally got a 6 month together where they were unplayable, which we'd both been asking for. It had been Morelos for 6 months, Kent for a few months, but we got them firing together. That wasn't always happening. So this idea that they always were that way, it just isn't there. Players like Scott Wright, who I think, I've said before, I think Scott Wright is better than I could ever imagined. He looks so settled whenever I've seen him come on. Haji stats don't lie. Haji stats were phenomenal. So I'm not worried about all these players that we could potentially drop out, because we've had a Rabble playing as part of the front three. He can easily shift into that left centre mid if you lose Kamara. If you lose Kent, you've got Sakala, Scott Wright to be there. If you lost Morelos, we might need to find a solution to that. We might need to go into the market. And I mean, could you steal a Kevin Nisbet for $3 million? You don't know what kind of numbers he could churn out playing in that Rangers system. Not the same type of player as Morelos. But nobody knew about Morelos when we got him. So this idea that there's not players like that out there just isn't true. And I think the recruitment that Ross Wilson and the team have done leaves me in a lot of confidence, because I normally wouldn't want to lose anyone for the team. But the recruitment that they've done for especially the last year and a half, I know there was like your John Flanagan, Matt Polster, who maybe didn't quite cut it. But that last year and a half has been exceptional, to the point that I would trust them to already have the Morelos, Kent earmarked already. Find the next player we pay 800,000 for, 50 grand for, getting a free transfer or a development fee from Charlton. I think they'll already be doing that. I think, for what I said earlier, I think we're very close to having this right business model. We spoke actually off recording about Patterson and what Mulholland said at an A license presentation about shifting Flanagan and Polster out so that Patterson would have game time. So if you see players start to be edged out underneath people's positions, assume that the managerial team are comfortable that we have someone inside the academy who's going to start appearing in cup games, going to start making sub appearances. So maybe like losing a Kamara, you might not see a direct replacement. Maybe you'll see somebody from the youth team become the backup centre mid when we've got injuries. I think that needs to be the way forward. The same as we've not replaced a backup for Tavernier. We've said Patterson's now it, and that's how we'll go forward.
Sorry, guys, I'm having an absolute puppy nightmare. My missus has went out. She's left me in charge of the puppy, and I'm having an absolute puppy nightmare. But no, John, I completely agree with about 40% of what you said there, so that was quite good. But look, I suppose, I disappeared there for a few seconds, so you might have touched on this, so I do apologise. But Cammy, I suppose we're talking there as if we sell a player, all we can do is bring through a youngster. But like John said, we're bringing in Sakala, and I suppose we've got to trust the recruitment that the club have already showed in bringing in a £500,000, £1 million, £1.5 million gem.
100%. I think that the club, we're all guessing. We're all guessing as to what the player sales are going to be this summer. I'm almost certain that Ross Wilson and Steven Gerrard know the situation with Connor Golson. They know the likely situation with Glenn Kamara. you've seen various midfield players linked over the course of the last few weeks. German under 21 midfield player. So I think potentially out of contract at the end of this month. So the succession planning I think is ongoing. So I'm sure that if the bid comes in as we expect it to for Kamara, as an example, that we have the plans afoot. I think we need to bring midfield players in whether he leaves or not. And I think that's I think we've spoke about it in the podcast for the last 6 months. It's the one area of the park that we need an upgrade. I think we need a wee bit of a spend if it is at all possible. If you can get that quality player for a Bosman, even better. But I think that the next maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I think will be very telling. Once the players are back for pre-season, I think it'll become very clear what's happening with Connor Golson. I would love nothing more the first day of pre-season training. He reports back and signs an extended contract. But the longer it drags on, the less likely that appears to me. So I think Golson and Kamara will be the 2 player sales this summer.
Right, well, can I just say we've got Scottish football calls. I paid my 500, looking forward to my certificate as it will be framed and placed on the wall. But see, more importantly, Scottish football calls, can I just say keep doing what you're doing, by the way, because that is hilarious. I don't know if anybody's seen have you seen the channel? So it's the one where it's all the clips. It's all the clips for Clyde.
Oh, brilliant.
It's phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, honestly, go and watch it. Right, does anybody want any final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
I just saw a comment in the comments about the Ajax business model. I just think people need to understand what the Ajax actually do, because they still spend an absolute shed loads on bringing signings in. There's a real common misconception that they've got this conveyor belt throughout the academy, and it's not at all. They get maybe 1 or 2 players over a few years that actually make it on a regular basis, but the majority of the time they run like any other football club. But what they do is the players that do come through are a very, very high standard. But I think we're not that far off it. When you look at, particularly, always the best example is Nathan Patterson, and then Cammy touched on there when we're strengthening the midfield, and also what John said in terms of we'll see the fringe players coming out. So I don't think we're going to see the likes of Scotty Arfield get another contract. And his contract must be up next year. But then there'll be half an eye this season probably on bringing, right, can Stephen Kelly do it? If he can't do it, we've still got Scotty Arfield for a year or 6 months or whatever. And we've got until that window between the start of the season and January to work out what we're going to do. If we do need to do something, then we've got from January to the end of the season to find a replacement for Arfield. So that's the kind of situation and the blooding that I think that we're going to see. And just pretty much to reiterate the other boys' points. That was very well put. See, this is why I host, right? Because I would never think of an answer like that. I'd have just went, oh no, things are looking good. Some players will come through and we'll be all right. That would have been my answer. John, David Moe, we now only need to tweak the team no more than eight or nine signings a season. And I know I didn't say the question properly, Scott. You don't need to laugh. But the point is, we don't need to make another 8 or 9 signings every single season, which is massive for us.
Yeah, that's all you do want. I think this is great now where we are, is we just kind of need to replace what we might lose. The only gutting thing is, I know we don't want to lose players, but I guess the gutting thing was potentially Barisic not playing for Croatia. There's probably a chance.
We'll come on to that. We'll come on to that.
A few million quid onto him.
I think he will do, won't he?
We'll come on to that, right? Just hold your horses, right? Don't get ahead of the agenda, right? Just sit there and calm down.
Oh, don't make up like there's an agenda. Christ.
There is. My Twitter, that's the
agenda. Listen. Between that dog licking your face and destroying their house, we're not going to be winning any Podcast of the Year awards. I can tell you that for nothing.
Well, you never know. If anybody's watching, I didn't even know there was Podcast of the Year awards, but there you go. If anybody's watching, vote for us. We're really good, honest. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do subscribe, gauge your comments as well, gauge your questions, because we're going to do half an hour of questions with a tiny wee bit international football, because I know how much it really depresses Cammy, and I love depressing Cammy. Right, so first question we've had in, Cammy, I'll take this to you first, is from Logie, do we need a better understudy to Borna? I don't know how fair that is on young Bassey. We haven't really seen much of him. He had that, stupid incident with the COVID and stuff. But do we need a better understudy for Borna?
What, Joe Aribo?
Well, yes.
Oh, snap.
Podcasts don't usually work when you give one-word answers.
Well, I'm sorry about that. But I think the manager was obviously very pleased with Joe Aribo's performance. I mean, he waxed lyrical about it at Livy at the end of the season. I think he's more than capable. I mean, Joe Aribo can look class in so many different positions. I think we're very fortunate. I've got real high hopes for James Maxwell. Had a very positive loan at Queen of the South. I hope he gets a top division loan. I think the boy Williamson, I reckon, is going to go to Livingston on a season loan. I think something comparable.
Has that been confirmed?
Well, I think he's, for what I can gather, I think he's been. It's quite far on for what I can understand. Anyway, Maxwell, it's even like a move to a Hearts or somebody along those lines. I think a wee bit of expectation, I think, would be a good move, because he's a player that I've got very high hopes for when he does. But you don't want to push him too quickly. But I think if Borna's injured, I think or suspended or whatever, assuming he stays, you've got the opportunity that Aribo. We dominate possession in so many games that Aribo can play that position differently to Borna, but equally as well.
It's not a position I want to see Aribo in, though, regardless. I know he plays it well, and by the way, if you've got inside information, I mean, come on, WhatsApp me and let me know.
I think you'll find it was.
It wasn't me. I didn't read it. John.
Exactly.
John, better understudy for Borna needed. Not fair on Bassey. Good young players coming through. What do you think?
Bassey, yeah. Bassey's had a year under us. It took Borna Barisic a good 6 to 8 months to get used to Gerrard's system and what Gerrard wanted from him. To the point that, I mean, I'm more than willing to embarrass myself here. For the first few months that I seen Barisic, I did not see what I seen in that Osijek game, where I was when I was buzzing when we signed him. And I think everyone probably remembers the point. Up until that St Mirren goal that went in, it was like a fucking new player was born overnight. But I was really, really disappointed with him when he first came in. I was one of the idiots shouting for Halliday to play left back, because I was like, this guy doesn't get it. This guy's getting beat in 50-50s. He's not winning headers. He's not delivering into the box. He used to keep hitting the first man, which sounds ridiculous when you think of Borna Barisic now standing over a set piece or taking a corner with the assists he got last season. So I'm hoping that Bassey, with another season under his belt, working with Gerrard, working with the players in the system and the coaching staff, that we would see someone who maybe wasn't quite out the depth that he looked at when we played St Mirren in the Cup. But also, your squad's never going to be that strong. Like, the flip side of that headache is Patterson and Tavernier, where we're going, what the hell do we do with Tavernier and Patterson? We've got two players who are good enough to start. Like, you're not meant to have... This is why Spurs have always struggled to buy a decent replacement for Kane when he's injured, because a striker joining that club knows that Kane's going to play every game. So a decent striker's not going to join them. So it's going to be a Soldado, it's going to be a Llorente, it's going to be a massive drop-off from your first team. It just is par for the course. So Maxwell, yes. I think Bassey, I'm hoping to see improvements. So when he comes in this season, when he's needed in cup games, he doesn't look quite as bad, because he's still a young boy. He had made some silly mistakes off the pitch as well. I think good pre-season, working with the team more, working with Beale, I think he'll be fine. I think I'm quite comfortable with that, because in the hope, fingers crossed, that Barisic doesn't leave because of what's not playing, and we're fine now.
I didn't actually realise that Barisic is actually under contract to 2024. So we've actually... I thought he was going into the last 2 years of his contract like so many, but he's got a wee bit longer. So I think you might actually keep him for another season.
And also, by the way, we have an interview with James Maxwell on our YouTube channel. So if you want to... yes, but no, it's out. It's done. It's been released. Scotty, yes, he shows how much you pay attention, doesn't it? So if you want to go and watch that,
busy.
if you want
to
to
set up my business.
Aye, whatever. If you want to go and watch that, of course, and we also have an interview out there with Stephen Kelly. So if you want to go and watch that, head over to our
I've seen
YouTube
that
channel.
one.
Oh, have you seen that one? But you haven't seen the Maxwell one? All right. Okay.
That's a shame.
Moving on. Next question is from, I love this name, Brian R. Fotheringham. Oh, what a name. Now Campbell isn't an option for signing, signed for Luton Town. Is McCann the only real midfield choice for us? Perhaps sign with a loan back to St Johnstone for the season, Scotty? Whoever that is.
That was me. That's what I thought of that question. Listen, I never even thought Campbell was an option. I've never even entered my head that he'd end up at Rangers. Alan McCann's a different one. I think the boy's got talent. I gather there's a few clubs sniffing around him. It's not as straightforward as if we want him, we'll get him. It's kind of you're playing the flirting game on Tinder. He's swiping and you got all these different people. Yeah, just for you, because just as well with a haircut like that.
There's one that starts with a G in there. Anyway, carry on.
Anyway, look, we're shopping with our scouting network now, and we're properly investing in the infrastructure. We're scouting in a much larger pond. I get the idea that yes, if you can get a quality player in Scotland, it's probably preferable because they understand Scottish football, and that is really, really important. It does account for quite a lot because we don't necessarily have the time to blood in a foreigner. Only option, definitely not. But I think there are plenty of options on the table. I think Cammy alluded to it earlier. We've got that German under 21 who's about 23, is he? Play on the radar. So there are plenty of plans afoot. But
there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being 23 and playing for under 21s. Some people wear it as a badge of honour, Scotty.
And some of them play till they're at 25. How old's Edward?
John, Alan McCann now the only option. I think the reason a lot of people are asking, is he the only option? Simply because he's Scottish. And I think obviously
he's not.
He's not.
Oh no, he's not.
He's from Northern Ireland.
What are you? I don't even know why people are. What a stupid question that is, John.
He's still a good player though, so it's still a
He's still a very good
if
player.
you ignore his international duties. I think he'd be a great signing. I think he's a cracking signing. He's definitely one that if we got for the right price is a player who I think we could potentially again buy in cheap, not too cheap because I'm sure St John's don't have the price, but again sell on for 4, 5, 6 times the money if he comes in and plays well. This needs to be what we realistically set down. As we took Kamara for Dundee because we played a couple of games against him and he realised that he was way above that level. St Johnstone have had a ridiculously good season, but let's be honest, there's absolutely no way they're following that up. So they're going to be a mid-table side again. They'll be lucky to get anywhere near the cup finals that they got last year. Mm-hmm. And players will be looking to cash in on that season, like Ali McCann. And I think he would...
CGM. Oh, no. Sorry, John. Ferguson is better than McCann.
Barry Ferguson. Probably.
No, I think he's talking about...
Ian Ferguson.
Answer that one, John. Who would you take, Ferguson or McCann?
Derek. Which one?
The boy.
I think Lewis Ferguson's a cracking player, but I think he would cost a lot more money than Ali McCann, and I think you're getting a very similar player. I think they're very similar. Yeah, I think they're very similar. I really like Lewis Ferguson. I really do. I think he's a cracking player. I think technically, I think if you, this is the same idea. This is the same argument I had when we signed Ryan Jack. It's the same argument I've seen when we took Scott Wright. You're basing your ideas on him playing for a team of hammer throws. He's a technical footballer who's really tidy. Anytime I've seen him play for under 21s, he looked good and around better players. I think sometimes you need to not, because let's face it, St Johnstone don't play cracking football either. But Ali McCann is a standout. Lewis Ferguson, either one of them, but I think Lewis Ferguson would cost a lot more money.
That's absolutely one of the best points. Not only are they playing with hammer throwers, but there are quite a good... This is what annoys me about Scottish football in particular. The managers do not trust the talent. They do not trust the talent. So they play in a system and they play in a way that negates any good qualities these players have. They have no idea how to identify the qualities of a player and put them in a team and get them to play together. And case in point, touching on international football, is Steve Clarke. Absolutely clueless.
Okay. Cammy, we've got a question.
John, you're absolutely spot on.
Cammy, we've got a question in for our very own Alan Haggerty, and I know that you're going to know the answer to this one, so just a quick answer and we'll move on to the next one. How much is Martin going to put behind the bar for the Rabble night out?
Next.
Right, thank you. Right, because the answer to that is zero.
Can I just say about Ali
No.
McCann? I think
No.
McCann, see if you could get McCann with Middleton as part of the deal, because I don't think Middleton's going to have a future at Rangers. St Johnstone clearly like him. I agree with John with regard to Lewis Ferguson. He'd probably look better in a better team, but the fee that Aberdeen's going to want is way in excess of what I or Rangers would be prepared to pay. McCann, Stephen Kelly, there's a couple of, I'm not saying project players, a couple of players that you can develop as your Davises and your Arfields are getting older and what have you. In 18 months' time, they two are maybe ready to be starting 11 players. But McCann would be one, I think, if you could get him for, I don't know, $500,000, I think would be decent.
Well, we shall see. Next question, and it's again from Brian R. Fotheringham. If we qualify for the Champions League group stages, will the likes of Kamara, Goldson stay? Better exposure for them. Let me finish the question. Better exposure.
I read it before we came on.
Aye, but people watching didn't read it. And if you do want to read any questions sent to me, do head over to @RangersRabble on Twitter. So basically, Cammy, will they stay if we make the Champions League? Do we have to sell and if we make the Champions League?
We're not going to know until the end of August if we're going to make the Champions League. I think decisions will be made long before. I think if it was next summer when we've won the 56th title and we have automatic Champions League football, different kettle of fish. But as I said earlier with regard to Goldson, I hope he extends because he wants to play Champions League football, but also protects the club with regard to a future sale. Kamara, I just think that he's tearing it up at the Euros. I just think it's inevitable that he's not going to be a Rangers player come the start of next season.
John?
Yes, they wouldn't know. If the transfer window was delayed the same way it was last year, because obviously the season was delayed, then it's a different matter. But it'll be up to the players. Like this is all impossible. I'd like to think nobody would want to leave and everyone would want the chance at Champions League football. But if Ryan Kent gets wind of an English Premiership club that look established, like a Leeds United interest in him, he's going to look at that and be like, right, I need to go there. It just the lure of England, especially for English players, is just ridiculous, and they're always going to look at the money they can make and the stage they're going to be playing on. Champions League is getting the same eyes on it as the English Premier League would. There's no. That's why these teams are so happy to spend money on these players, because it's the same amount of focus, the same amount of revenue, the same amount of money coming in for TV, and probably bigger audiences in some cases. Because in China, they're not watching the Champions League; they're watching the English Premier League. So the product's wider; they'll get more money. Players are probably more inclined to go and try and join a mid-table English Premier League club than play 6 games in the Champions League for us, which is sad, but it's just the way the football is.
Do you know, I never thought it that way, Scotty. Would you rather play for Rangers, who might obviously not be the favourites to qualify for the group and go all the way, or would you rather go to, I don't know, an Everton or a Newcastle and sign for them and get a wee bump in your wages?
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to say, what a stupid fucking question. Who do you think I'd rather play for, right?
Not you. You're a Rangers supporter. I'm talking about football players.
Well, as a footballer, I don't know, because I'm not a footballer. But look,
hold on. There we go. You're going to get better input out of Scotty now that he's on mute. There we go. Right, Scotty. So, if you're a professional footballer not associated with Rangers, you're given the option to play in the Champions League with Rangers or go and sign for a mid-table English team. What do you think a professional footballer would do?
Proof is in the pudding. We've seen it time and time again. They go down to England. They go down to England on the proviso that, you know, they want to make the club they're signing for better, and then either progress up the ranks in that club and get them up the league and in these positions, or they impress and they then go on to a bigger club like Manchester United or Arsenal, crap, Liverpool, Man City, and then get into the Champions League that way. So I think that's the idea. As I said, like the Premier League is a huge platform, and you know, hopefully one day Scottish football might take itself seriously and we can actually have some form of semi-platform where our players can showcase their talent instead of relying on Champions League or Europa League.
You're in the driving seat now, Britain. You know what I mean? Come on. That's who we're sponsored by now. We're in the driving seat. Come on. It's that big an announcement. I can't even remember what they're called. What they called?
Cinch. Right. Yeah. When that was announced, the first comment I saw was absolute scenes when Rylan hands over the Scottish Premier League trophy. And I was just like, oh no. They were like Howard from Halifax all over again.
Oh, I remember that. That was horrendous. Cameron, we've got a really quick question in for you for CGM. What makes anyone think McCann would only cost 500k? Was it not you that said $500,000?
I just plucked that figure at the sky, but I was just saying that if that was using Glenn Middleton as a make weight with regard to that, I think that the full package would be worth maybe £1 million. So.
Okay, final question before we move on to obviously the Euros. And do you know what? Actually, I can't believe I didn't. I should say it. Everybody, obviously, at the Rangers Rabble and the Rangers family wish Christian Eriksen all the best in his recovery. What happened on that pitch was shocking. The fact that the pictures were allowed to go on for as long as they were was shocking. I'm not having any excuses from the BBC. They could have cut the feed at any time and they didn't. But that's not what it's about. It's about Christian Eriksen getting better. I hope he makes a full and speedy recovery, and we shall come on to the Euros very, very shortly. Final question, John. What two midfielders would you realistically like Rangers to sign this summer? For me, it would be John Lundstrom and Gustavo Hamer.
Well, this is the problem with talking to me because I'm a massive Ryan Gauld fanboy, and he's still a free transfer. The contract situation is not resolved with Forenza. Forenza are claiming that there's an extension triggered, and it's not. So they're probably going to tribunal very quickly. He's a free transfer. I watched him all season against Porto, but he tore Benfica to shreds, absolutely destroyed their midfield. So did we, to be fair, for like 70 minutes in both games before chucking it away very late on. He's a standout in that same mould as Aribo, and anyone who can disagree with me has not watched Rangers and Ryan Gauld both. I know them both. I know the system Rangers play. I know what Ryan Gould's like. He would slot right into that Rangers team, either in a left centre midfielder position where Aribo has played, or off the front three. So he'd be one I would be dying to get in because he improves that team no end. And I'd love Ali McCann. I think he's the one that I would pay money for. I'd be gutted to see Middleton go the other way, but if you can make Middleton part of that deal, I think Middleton makes that deal close to $1.5 million. So I think the 500k with us going out the other way. St Johnstone are the tightest club in the world. I think if people don't know, like people close to the club, their payments are so fucking low that like they need to get players out the door if there's money on the table. So if they can get Middleton off us permanently and get 500 grand for Ali McCann, they'll take it 100%. So I would like both of them because I think there's an established player and then there's a player to build on that's got really, really good.
Can I just double check with you, John, before I make an ass of myself? Ryan Gould's Scottish, isn't he?
Yes.
Right. There we go. I got one. There we go. Oh, and very, very, before I take that question to Scotty and Cammy, because I want to come back to that Ryan Gauld point. Scotty, Cardozo signed for Porto?
I always knew there was a player there.
What? I've not seen him since he left, but what's going on?
No, in his couple of seasons after, and John will probably know because he's watched Portuguese football. He's actually done pretty well. I think Santa Clara, they didn't have the best defensive record, but Cardozo always stood out. And I was always one of these people that always keeps an eye on how they're getting on. Don't necessarily get the opportunity to watch the football, but always read the reports. Cardozo always was, and I think he was touted for a move well before this one. Back to Benfica potentially. So it's no real surprise that he's eventually gone to Porto. I always thought he's a very, very good footballer. He had to work on his maturity in terms of physical strength. That's a Scottish thing. That isn't a football thing. And yeah, he's not necessarily bad. I think he's got a very continental way of defending, and I don't think it suits us. We like in our face, blood and thunder. Continentals defend by standing off, stepping back. That won't work in Scottish football, and it didn't. So horses for courses, but I'm not surprised. I just want to say what John says. I'm now all of a sudden a Ryan Gold fanboy. We need to sign him.
Right. Well,
I don't know how he's done it, but now we need to sign him.
I'll come back to you on that, John. I'll come to you in a wee second. But Cammy, could you have ever imagined when Cardozo was at us that he'd be signing for Porto, or like a few people have said in the comments? And by the way, thank you CGM for putting that in so that it reminded me. Have Porto slipped? And I don't mean on a banana. I just mean if they slipped.
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a bit like Scotty says. I've not followed his career with regard to watching the games, but he's a guy that I think wanted to do better than he did when he was at Rangers. I think his attitude was never in question. He was just unfortunate that he had the car crash that was Pedro, and obviously he broke his nose in that Motherwell game. So fair play to him for going back to Portugal to a club and then building himself back up. But listen, Porto will know what they're bringing in. They're a club that their recruitment and selling policies is there to be complemented. You know, bringing guys in and selling them to Man City for 50 million 2 years later. So who's to say that Cardoso doesn't go to Porto, doesn't do well there for 2 years, and then he ends up at whatever club George Mendes is bringing players to. That's
right, John.
It's not going to be Reno Gattuso's club, right enough.
What people really struggle with, right? FC Porto, if they're signing a player, they're going to be class. There's nothing to say that they're trying to do the same kind of thing that we do. Take a player that they see them do well, develop them, and make them even better. There's no guarantee that Cardozo's coming in to be a centre-back starter for Porto. So, yes, okay, signing for Porto. It doesn't mean he's going to be the best centre-back there. But we'll see.
Right. So, John, why have Porto signed Cardozo?
It was the defensive performances. Santa Clara, I watched them a couple of times against Ryan Gold's side, and they are so well structured to the point where what's actually happened with Cardozo is he's not quite been physical enough to play in Scotland, but what he has learned in Scotland is a physical side of his game that he's now taking back to a Portuguese league, and he's just combined that with the continental ability he already kind of had, because the first few games he played, he looked like he was a good footballer, looked like he was really technically good, and also I keep harking back to this. Remember when you and I first spoke, we mentioned the name, that name, Sadiq, who went to Partizan and tore it up. He's in the
made Cammy look up for his phone there.
Top goal scorer in La Liga 2 for Almira this season. People sometimes just forget. Sometimes players join their club and they're shit. Timo Pukki was terrible at Celtic and then went down to Norwich and has been phenomenal. Those type of players just exist. It just happens. And I think it was just a young centre-half coming to far too physical a league that he couldn't adapt to. But what he has done is he's taken lessons for that, and he's definitely adapted his game. And now he's a very strong physical centre-half in a league that doesn't have strong physical centre-forwards. So he's excelled to the point where Porto have went, he's coming to us, and I think he's probably going there to start as well.
Right. I genuinely didn't realise the time. It's 5 to 8. We have 5 minutes. The Battle Fever podcast is on at 8 p.m. So anybody watching, please do go and check it out. John, in a minute and a half or less, explain why Scotland you beat off the Czech Republic.
Kieran Tierney. That's it.
Is it his fault?
This Stephen O'Donnell fascination. Now this isn't me going off one because I've already had my Facebook rants. That Stephen O'Donnell position only works if Kieran Tierney and Andrew Robertson are both available for us to attack down that left side the way we do. If Kieran Tierney is not available, you do not play a back five with wing backs that are Andrew Robertson, Stephen O'Donnell. You immediately have to put in an attacking right wing back so you've got a threat on both sides, because the lopsided nature, it was all over the place. Andy Robertson didn't know, with the exception of like 1 or 2 1-2s, he didn't know whether he was to go or stay, because Tierney's the one normally bridging that gap. Should have played a 4-3-3 the minute Tierney wasn't available, played Ryan Fraser in front of Andrew Robertson, and you could got away with playing Stephen O'Donnell as a right back, because it made everything uncomfortable, to the point that second goal, as a result of, it's two things. Jack Henry scored the screamer against Holland. He's hit the bar 5 minutes before this shot. But every pass in that first half he gave to Stephen O'Donnell came straight back to him, and he had to go out the other side. So he's looked out at Stephen O'Donnell and went, I'm 30 yards for goal. I'm taking one touch and hitting this. And what unfolded beyond that, like, would happen 1 in a million times. But to me, it's that. The minute you lose Tierney, we should have been adapting. Even if it happened 20 minutes before he named his team sheet, he should have been sitting with Stephen Reid and, God, for God's sake, I can't remember the other guy's name, and adapting his team.
John Carver. Because when James Forrest came on, almost scored the goal within 2 minutes, because we had an attacking wing back on the pitch. And it took all the pressure off Andy Robertson, the midfielders, to create something. And for 20 minutes, we looked at a better team. We had 19 shots on goal to Czech Republic's 4. So we did create enough. It's just, I think, without Tierney, it's a totally different ball.
Right. Can I just say, Scotty, just 2 seconds, Scotty. We had a very attacking goalkeeper, did we not, Scott?
Yes, we did. But what John said, like, absolutely spot on. If you look at those 19 shots, the majority of them happened at the start of the game and at the end of the game.
Yep.
And in the middle, it was a complete. Yeah, don't get me started on that. That's absolutely joke.
Our good friend Scott Young, yeah.
But just to echo that, it was. I've just completely lost my train of thought. Basically, what John said, we played that way, and the Czechs played a really balanced way. And then all of a sudden, all the threat was coming down the left, and they thought, "Oh shit, Robertson, we can't have this." And then they doubled up on Robertson, and they stifled that area of the pitch. And then they saw what happened when Stephen O'Donnell got the ball. He tackles himself, he tackles Christie, he fucking tackles everyone apart from Czech players. Yeah. And they're laughing. They're literally fucking laughing.
Yep.
And he does fuck all. How the fuck did he, excuse my language, stay on that pitch for 80 minutes? 80 minutes. I've never seen anyone sacked mid-tournament or mid-game before, but it should have happened. Something should have happened, because Steve Clarke has obviously said, and I get it, it's his boy and he wants to protect his boy, but the best thing he could have done by protecting O'Donnell was, after 20 minutes, sent him off, because it was clear he had stage fright. He was not up to it. And that cost a lot, because when you've got zero balance in the team and you've got zero attacking threat, it's very, very easy to nullify. Any professional team can. And I still think Scotland should have done better. I mean, how Shea Adams wasn't start. Why would you not start your best footballers?
I don't know. And also, and look, this isn't a Rangers Celtic thing, right? But starting Ryan Christie, who hasn't kicked a ball all season, you've got a Champions League winning midfielder in there who had 2 fantastic performances against Liverpool, and I can't remember who the other team was, and Billy Man City, and Billy Gilmore, who could have come on and created and possibly changed the game. And you have to look, Scotty, at the way that Wales played. You know, they got lucky against Switzerland. All right, they did get lucky. But they were playing Turkey, who, all right, maybe don't look the best outfit. But Wales aren't the best outfit. They've got Gareth Bale. That's it. And one man doesn't win a game for you. Nobody's Maradona. Harry Wilson.
But there's an element of trust from the coaches to the players in the Welsh setup. If they deem you good enough, they'll put you in, whether you're 16 years old, 19 years old, 22 years old. If you're good enough, you're young enough, you're good enough. Scotland, there isn't that. There's this element of, well, the whole mentality of these players got us there. That was 18 months ago. Let's not even brush over the record of how crap Scotland were in qualifying. We've had 200 goes at Israel and not managed to get past them. The Serbia game, that was an absolute shambles. We're lucky to get through that. Our Scotland, yes, okay, we weren't getting beat, but we were playing crap. We were playing crap teams. And all of a sudden, Steve Clarke's this messiah that should be trusted. Absolutely not. He's going to ruin the golden generation.
I've never bought it.
And spot on. Why is Ryan Christie playing? Like, David Turnbull has played half a season and been voted at Celtic a more influential player than Ryan Christie, who's played all season.
Yep. But listen, we have to leave it there. That's 1 minute past 8. Wales had English Championship players playing. We didn't have a Champions League one.
Why'd you wind me up and then set me off and then cut me off?
We shall come back to the Euro chat next week. And Cammy, you're welcome. I left you out on purpose. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you to everybody in the comments. John, Scotty, Cammy, as ever, thank you very much. I didn't think we'd have enough. I didn't think we'd be able to fill an hour, but hey, we could have filled 2 hours a night. So get yourselves over to watch the Battle Fever podcast. That starts at 8. Get tuned into Rangers Radio every night. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that jazz helps keep the pod going as well. So until we meet again and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Cheers, goodbye, and I'll try a better outro next time. Cheers.